community members are gathered together today, both in person and virtually, to commemorate Veterans Day. It is my privilege at this time to introduce 3 Penns Manor veterans who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Kimberly Bodek is a learning support teacher and a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. Mr. Mark Dalton is our supervisor of buildings and grounds and a veteran of the United States Air Force. And Mr. David Grimaldi is our director of education and a veteran of the United States Army. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. Our veterans will now lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Members of the Clymer American Legion Post 222 will now offer the invocation and perform the American Legion Veterans Day ceremony.
Our chaplain will offer prayer.
O God of hosts, we bow our heads in thankfulness for victories that thou host granted us. To us and to those people who have united with us to stamp out the evils of aggression, intolerance, and greed. Grant us, too, O God, the courage to live with the families of nations around the world, that the end of strife will be the beginning of enduring peace. Grant us patience in planning with our fellow men and women a world in which nations may resolve their differences by peaceful means. Grant us now thy continued blessing upon unity and strength, and make victories possible in war, that we may win greater victories of peace. Amen.
On this day, Veterans Day, we are commemorating the service of veterans of all wars. We remember how men and women set aside their civilian pursuits to serve their nation's causes, defending the freedoms of mankind and preserving our precious American heritage. We believe our strength on the battlefield lay in the justice of our cause against forces of evil. We believe our determination made us better because we fought with our minds, our hearts, and our bodies. We recognize service to our country and her cause do not end with the termination of military service. We continue our endeavors in behalf of an honorable world peace with a feeling of profound gratitude to God and to the men and women who gave their lives as their part of the cost of the noblest of causes. Out of purpose, sacrifice, tolerance, bravery, and discipline, These are the foundations upon which the great nation is built. In our continuing quest for an honorable world peace, we must cultivate these virtues. Sergeant at Arms, honor our fallen comrades. Forward. Arms. Ready? And fire! And fire! And fire! Reset. Arms.
The last 2 years have been challenging to us all. Members of the Clamor Legion had met this challenge and continued their mission to enhance the well-being of America's veterans and their families. For years, Legion members have worked tirelessly to have area bridges dedicated to local veterans. These bridges include the Charles Edward Doc Marskanish Memorial Bridge, the Sergeant Robert Pantel Memorial Bridge, the Sergeant Eugene Goodland Memorial Bridge, the Louis R. Tate Memorial Bridge, and the Lance Corporal Joshua T. Twigg Memorial Bridge. This past year, 4 more county bridges have been named after local veterans. These bridges were officially dedicated at a ceremony conducted on October 6th at Yellow Creek State Park. On that day, the American Legion, local officials, and family members made the following dedications. The bridge carrying State Route 553 over Dutch Run in Pine Township is now the private Chancey Franklin Davis Memorial Bridge, honoring an Alberta native who was enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps and was killed in action in the World War II Battle of Piva Forks in the South Pacific. The bridge carrying State Route 403 over Dixon Run in Clymer is now named the private first class Martin J. Popson Memorial Bridge, honoring a former Penn Run resident who was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the nation's second highest military medal, for extraordinary heroism in action during the World War II liberation of Manila, as well as a Purple Heart Combat Infantry Badge and the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Ribbon. The Buena Vista Bridge, carrying State Route 56 over Blacklick Creek in East Wheatfield Township, is now designated the Army Specialist Beverly S. Clark Memorial Bridge. Clark, an Armagh native, joined the Westmoreland County-based 14th Quartermaster Detachment of the U.S. Army Reserves upon graduation from high school. On February 25, 1991, she was among those killed during a Scud missile attack on the U.S. military barracks in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. A bridge carrying U.S. Route 422 over Yellow Creek in Cherry Hill Township is now designated the private first class Ralph E. Diaz Memorial Bridge for Diaz's Vietnam service as part of the U.S. Marine Corps Company D, 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division, Fleet Marine Force. Private First Class Diaz was killed in combat in Quang Nam Province. For his service, he was awarded the Medal of Honor, the Purple Heart, the Combat Action Badge, the Meritorious Unit Commendation with 1 Bronze Star, the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal with 3 Bronze Stars, the Republic of Vietnam Meritorious Unit Commendation with Palm and Frame, and the Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal with Device. In recognition of these dedications and to honor all the veterans attending or viewing today's assembly, the Penns Manor Band will now play a medley of the Armed Services anthems. We ask the veterans in attendance to please rise to be recognized when the anthem of your service is played. When the anthem for your service is done, please take your seat. The Penns Manor Band will now play the medley.
Good afternoon. My name is Madison Martin, and I am the president of Penns Manor Student Council. Penns Manor students and staff have a tradition of supporting Indiana County veterans. Each Veterans Day, the Penns Manor School District reaches out to the community to remember and serve veterans and our senior citizens. This year, Met's Culinary Management, Chef Forts, and our cafeteria staff have once again done an outstanding job by preparing a delicious lunch for senior citizens and local veterans. Thank you, ladies. Penns Manor students and staff have also done their part. In 2009 and in 2019, students collected items and made cards for care packages sent overseas. Students have made wreaths to honor fallen veterans and participated in the erection of the Wall That Heals, a Vietnam War monument replica that came to Indiana County in 2019. Students have also raised funds for veterans causes including the Indiana County Veterans Home, the Indiana County Veterans Relief Fund, and the County Chapter of Disabled American Veterans. Our elementary school students have done their part as well, making donations, writing cards, and decorating their hallways for visiting veterans. This year, Penns Manor continued that tradition by raising funds to benefit homeless veterans. The Indiana County Veterans Parsonage is a ministry of the Freedom Church of Indiana and is dedicated to the housing and care of those who have served our nation. Since its creation in 2016, Indiana County residents have supported the parsonage through fundraisers and donations to meet the needs of local veterans and their families. This past June, the County Board of Commissioners presented $10,000 to a grassroots campaign for upgrades to the Veterans Parsonage. Over the last 2 weeks, students, faculty, and staff have been invited to make donations to the parsonage. These donations are symbolic of our continuing commitment to local veterans. Students are encouraged to keep looking for ways to serve those who have served our country. Penns Manor students and staff will be sending the parsonage a donation of $330 to help local homeless veterans. It is now my privilege to introduce recorded messages from two state officials who could not attend today because the Pennsylvania State Legislature is in session. Our first message is from State Representative Jim Struzzi. Representative Struzzi won election in November of 2018 to represent the 62nd Legislative District. He is a graduate of Penn Trafford High School and the University of Pittsburgh in Greensburg, where he earned a bachelor's degree in English. Representative Struzzi has worked as a journalist, a press secretary for the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, and as a president of the Indiana County Chamber of Commerce.
Greetings. I'm State Representative Jim Struzzi. I appreciate the invitation to attend your Veterans Day Assembly. However, my responsibilities require me to be in Harrisburg today, so I thought I'd record this message for you. Veterans Day is such an important occasion for us to pause and reflect on the sacrifices, bravery, and spirit of service that is inherent in our veterans. We are forever indebted to them, and I know I'm guilty of not saying thank you to them nearly enough. We must also recognize our military families, who keep the home fires burning while their loved ones embark on long and often dangerous journeys. They're faced with the sobering possibility that their loved one may not return home. Throughout history, our veterans have fought to protect and defend our country and our way of life. From World War I, which was supposed to be the war to end all wars, to World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Operation Desert Storm, and our most recent efforts over the past decade in the Middle East, America's service members have risen to the challenge. The attack on our nation on September 11, 2001 forever changed our way of life. The war on terrorism, a global war with no individual enemy, has transformed the way we fight wars. I am struck by how much has changed since World War I. However, one thing remains the same, and that is that America's veterans are still tenacious, honorable, and dedicated individuals who make our country proud. Let us all take a moment and think about the thousands of veterans who have made immeasurable sacrifices for all of us. As we go about our days, take the time to thank a veteran or do a kind deed. It should not just be once a year that our veterans hear our gratitude. Veterans are very special people. They are patriotic, they are selfless, they are skilled, and they believe in freedom so much that they are willing to give their entire lives to ensure that freedom lives on for future generations. Our veterans have served our nation proudly and are still living here as our family, friends, and neighbors. These veterans are not just veterans. They have been community volunteers, public servants, and local leaders. They continue to give back. Because they are a part of our community, we have always recognized the value of their contribution. Every year, we gather together to say thank you to them and to let them know we will never forget what they have done for us. When our freedoms have been endangered, it is they who have stepped up to the plate and challenged our adversaries. This land will only continue to be filled with independence as long as we have courageous men and women who are willing to defend our freedom until the bitter end. And in Indiana County, we have quite a number of courageous men and women. Our veterans, from every era, are the finest of citizens. We owe them the life we know today. They command the respect of the American people, and they have our lasting gratitude. Today and every day, let us continue our prayers for those who proudly wear our country's uniform. They serve a great cause and they follow a great tradition, handed down to them by America's veterans. I would like to close with a simple reminder that freedom is not free. As Ronald Reagan once said, "I don't have to tell you how fragile this precious gift of freedom is." Every time we hear, watch, or read the news, we're reminded that liberty is a rare commodity in this world. Thank you to all of our veterans for protecting our freedom. We are forever grateful.
Thank you, Representative Struzzi. Our next message is from State Senator Joe Pittman.
Greetings.
Senator Pittman is a 1995 graduate of Purchase Line High School and a 1998 graduate of Penn State University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in political science. Senator Pittman serves as a chairman of the State Urban Affairs and Housing Committee and vice chairman of the Senate Environmental Resources and Energy Committee. He is a member of 4 additional Senate committees: Appropriations, Banking and Insurance, Consumer Protection and Professional Licensure, and Judiciary.
Hello, I'm Senator Joe Pittman. Each November, our nation sets aside a special day to honor veterans, meaning all of the men and women who have served in our armed forces during both peacetime and war. We celebrate Veterans Day because we owe a huge debt to these folks. Some have served in the Army, others have served in the Navy, or the Air Force, or the Marines. But regardless of what branch of the military they joined, or where they were stationed, they have all played a part in defending our nation. Unlike some countries that force young people to serve in the military, the United States depends on volunteers. In other words, of all of the choices they could have made, our servicemen and women decided to take time out of their lives to protect their country. They are proud to represent a country that believes so strongly in freedom for people like you and me. We have the freedom to go to church, to speak our minds in public, and to get a good education like the one you're getting here. Many, many places around the world don't offer their citizens those freedoms. That's why it is so important for the United States to have a strong military to defend our way of life. It allows us all to sleep easier at night, knowing that brave, good people are looking out for us both here and overseas. That's why we thank our veterans on Veterans Day. In the past, they've done heroic deeds. They have traveled around the world to protect our country in World Wars I and II, in Korea, Vietnam, and in the Middle East. Even today, our servicemen and women, tomorrow's veterans, are actively defending our nation. The funny thing is, most of these veterans don't look like heroes, not the way we expect heroes to look. Most of them just look like regular people. In fact, you might have people in your own families, grandparents, aunts, uncles, even your own parents, who have served in the military and done great deeds. Even if they did not fight in a war, they deserve our respect and thanks. During peacetime, the men and women who choose to serve in the military are still taking a risk. They must always be ready to defend our country. Every one of them is a hero. We are fortunate to live in the United States of America, and we owe that good fortune to the people who have served and to those now serving in the military. We must never forget that on Veterans Day or any other day.
Thank you, Senator Pittman. It is now my honor to welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Alan Lockard. In 2019, Mr. Lockard became director of the Indiana County Department of Veteran Affairs. He and the department staff, Linda Medley and Marie Moskal, work to serve and benefit the veterans of Indiana County and their families. In addition to his current post, Mr. Lockhart has served as a board member of the Western Pennsylvania Veterans Relief Fund. He also served as a race director in the InFirst Bank Veterans Marathon and as a member of the Veterans Parsonage Homeless Shelter Board. Mr. Lockhart is a veteran of the United States Army, from which he retired with the rank of Sergeant Major after 23 years of service. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Alan Lockhart to the podium.
If I do this, right? Listen, I want to thank everybody here this morning, actually this afternoon. I'd especially like to thank Mr. Johnson, Ms. Dolges, and Mr. Fulton, Sheriff Fyock, honored guests, and fellow veterans, as well as the student body here today. Mr. Fulton reached out to me during the bridge dedication, actually, this year, and said, would you come in today and speak to the students of Penns Manor and let them know what Veterans Day means to you as a veteran firsthand. And there's a lot of things that come along with that. I think Senator Pittman, as well as Mr. Struzzi, they had some very excellent points. And while I sit and I listen, I think one of the things this morning that kind of resonated with me is I was over at another school. I was asked several questions about, you know, what is it to be a veteran? What does it mean to you to be a veteran? How did Veterans Day come about? And how do we thank a veteran? When do we thank a veteran? And that's, while it's a deep and interesting question, I will tell you that, you know, over the years, I think after my 24 years in the military service, I think the thing that meant the most to me, whether it be the students sitting here or the young lady at Sheets this morning that said, you're not paying for your coffee, I will take care of that. Just a simple thank you to veterans is truly all any of us have ever wanted. And I get that a lot. Just this morning when I walked into one of the schools that I was at, there were some young gentlemen out sweeping the leaves off the sidewalk. And two of them somewhat jumped to attention and immediately looked at me and said, are you in the Army? And I said, no, I'm not in the Army. I used to be in the Army. Now I'm a veteran. And they both walked over and shook my hand and said, thank you. Nothing means more than that to me, I know, as a veteran myself, as well as a lot of the veterans that I have served with over the years. Real quick, I want to touch base on a couple different things. While it's true that I'm currently the Director of Veterans Affairs for Indiana County, that allows me to see a lot of things throughout the county that you as students and the student body here may not be aware of. In the county of Indiana, we have over 6,000 veterans. And every year I'm responsible for purchasing a flag for every veteran that has passed away in the county of Pennsylvania. And believe it or not, if you drive around many of the cemeteries here in Indiana County, you'll see a flag with a flag holder which indicates the individual's service and where it was that they served at. So Vietnam, Korea, World War I, II, Spanish American, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. You'll see the flag holder and the flag. And every year, it just astounds me that I purchase over 14,000 flags for our residents who are buried here in Indiana County that are veterans. Another thing that my wife, she's a school teacher over at Indiana Junior High School, and she puts together every year this wonderful presentation like we have here today to honor the veterans. And she has always said to me that she felt as though Veterans Day oftentimes was memorialized more than it was recognized as just a simple thank you. So she always puts in, like you have here today, a lot of the things that you see. But one of the things that kind of caught both of us by surprise was the fact that In Indiana County, we have a total of 7 recipients of the Medal of Honor. 7. And now that may or may not mean anything to the students sitting here today, but I can tell you the Medal of Honor is the highest wartime presentation that a veteran or a military service member can actually receive from Congress or the President of the United States. And we happen to have 7 of those in Indiana County. So that in itself is pretty significant. One of the things I can't miss on is the opportunity to tell you that my great-grandmother grew up just down the road here. And while I am not an original native of Indiana County, she certainly was. She actually grew up in Diamondville, right? Town about this big around. And I brought her back here years ago when she was 95 years old because she wanted to live in Diamondville her last few years. And that was the first time I got to see Indiana. And ironically enough, after 22 years of service, somehow, ironically, I ended up getting stationed in Indiana, Pennsylvania. So it came full circle for me. And while my great-grandmother, Grandmother Lockard, was a resident of Diamondville, I'm also a relative of Joshua Twiggs. And so when we talk about service and we talk about ultimate sacrifice, obviously we're talking about a gentleman like Joshua Twigg. Each year, a group of us from a group called RWB, which was red, white, and blue, we would meet at the steps of the courthouse and place a wreath in front of the memorial there. And we would run to the Moose, which is located out in Dixonville. And we would present a flag to the Twigg family each year in memory of him and in honor of Joshua. So while it's tough for me to stand here and choke down and think about and wipe away the tears of losing a brother like that, it's certainly important that I say to you here today, the folks that are sitting in this room, to remember, some of us do sacrifice and give the greatest for the cause of this country. And all we ask back in return is that you stand up and do the same for your country when and if it is your time. It's not a recruiting ploy. It's not a pitch. It's just simply that you are our future. You are the young men and women that will take the torch and move forward. So think about that. Think about those Americans that stood in front of harm's way year after year in honor of the things that we have here in front of us today, the ability to turn on a light switch, enjoy TV and play video games and Facebook and things of this nature. You know, a lot of those things are things that we take for granted. But today, I thank you all for having me here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your courtesy. And again, I thank everybody in the administration that involved me here today with this. So I say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lockard. As part of our closing ceremony, we are honored to have Sheriff Robert Fayok conducting the flag folding ceremony. Sheriff Fayok is a Vietnam veteran who served as a military police officer in the United States Army. He has served 48 years in law enforcement roles, including chief county detective, jail warden, deputy sheriff, and correctional officer. Sheriff Fayok is the past president of the Pennsylvania Sheriff's Association and the board president of the Open Door Drug and Alcohol Treatment Center. In 2015, Mr. Fayok was the first sheriff recognized as the American Legion Department of Pennsylvania Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. Sheriff Fayok will direct Boy Scout of Troop 10 in Penn Run as to perform the American Legion flag folding ceremony.
Good afternoon. I want to tell everybody here that it's such a honor and privilege for me to be asked to be here again for the Veterans Program at Penns Manor High School. While only one day each year, being November 11th, it is solely dedicated to honor our veterans, that we must never forget all the lives that have been lost and the many sacrifices which many of our fellow Americans have made in order to defend this country and our freedoms. Our veterans have helped to make this world a better place, and we can never truly repay the debt we owe them. Their service and sacrifices made for our freedom must never be forgotten. I'm not sure if there's any other veterans here this morning, but could I have the veterans please stand again? Is there any veterans out in the audience at all? I thank each and every one of you for your service, and I appreciate it. I salute each of you. Thank you. Tomorrow, being November 11th, we are commemorating the centennial of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier was established in 1921 as the final resting place for the unknown soldier of World War I. Later remains were added from the subsequent wars of the now missing in action or the unknown. Congressman Hamilton Fisher in 1920 proposed the legislation to create the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It is hoped that the grave of this unidentified warrior will become the shrine of patriotism for all the ages to come, with all that will be a source of inspiration, reverence, and love of country for our future generations. 3 Greek figures are carved in this tomb representing peace, victory, and valor. Inscribed on the back of the tomb are the words, "Here rest in honored glory, an American soldier known but to God." It is because of all the veterans that we are able to be here today, and our history of the veterans must never be forgotten. At this time, I would like to have the members of the Scouts come up and assist me with the flag folding ceremony. It'll be Tyler Maylott, Nathaniel Raphael, Logan McCunn, Ryan Brady, and Logan Keith. Why is the American flag folded 13 times? Here is the meaning of each of these folds and what it means to you. The first fold of our flag is the symbol of life. The second fold is the symbol of our belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veterans departing our ranks who gave a portion of their lives for the defense of our country to attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents our weaker nature, for as American citizens trusting in God, it is to Him that we turn in times of peace as well as in times of war for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country, for in the words of Stephen Decanter, our country in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. Sixth fold is for where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag against all of her enemies, whether they be found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death, that we may see the light of day, and to honor Mother, for whom it flies on Mother's Day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood, for it has been through their faith, their love, and devotion that the character of the men and women who have made this country great has been molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to the Father, for he too has given his sons and daughters for their defense of our country since they were first born. The 11th fold in the eyes of the Hebrew citizen represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon, and glorifies in their eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold in the eyes of the Christian citizen represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in their eyes God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. When the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding us of our nation's motto, "In God we trust." Now, after the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it takes the appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones, who were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the armed forces of the United States, preserving for us the rights, privileges, and freedoms which we all enjoy today. Now, the next time you see a flag folding ceremony honoring someone that has served our country, either in the armed forces or in civilian services such as law enforcement or fire departments, please keep in mind all the important reasons behind each and every one of these movements. They have paid the ultimate sacrifice for all of us by honoring our flag and our country. Again, I thank each and every one being here for this assembly today. It's always an honor for me to be here. May God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless the USA. Thank you.
The flag will now be presented to Mr. Alan Lockard in recognition of his service both in and out of uniform. At this time, Scouts from Troop 10 in Penn Run will make a special presentation.
For over a decade, Sheriff Fyock has been leading Scouts from Troop 10 in the flag folding ceremony. This year, we would like to present Sheriff Fyock with a flag we folded earlier today in recognition of his service to this school, for his service to this county, and for his service to our country. Thank you, Sheriff Fyock.
On behalf of Penns Manor School District, I would like to thank all attending or viewing today's ceremony. We will conclude our program with the playing of taps. Will everyone please rise for the playing of taps? Please remain standing following taps for our closing anthem. Taps will be played by Allison Antonio and Morgan Wayno. Please be seated. We will now have some closing comments from our high school principal, Mrs. Michelle Dolges.
Thank you. I'd like to take an opportunity again to thank our veterans who are joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Lockard. Thank you, Sheriff Fyock, for coming and spending the day with us. Thank you to our Penns Manor veterans, Mrs. Bodick, Mr. Dalton, and Mr. Grimaldi. I'd also like to thank the teachers that helped put all this together. Mr. Fulton, can we have a round of applause for Mr. D. Fulton? Mr. Fulton started planning this ceremony quite some time ago. He spends a lot of time reaching out to individuals, trying to put together the videos, put together the ceremony. He works with Mr. Rode. Can we also have a round of applause for Mr. Rode? And our wonderful Penns Manor band. I won't give him all the credit. You guys did very well. Our wonderful Penns Manor band, very proud of all of you. Mr. Johnston helped, our chef, Karen Wirtz, helped prepare all the meals, and Mrs. Cessna's students helped pass them out and help distribute them. Today we took meals down to the Senior Citizen Center down in Clymer, and we presented meals out front to the veterans that were able to come and pick them up. Veterans Day, this is one of my favorite ceremonies of the year. I really enjoy everything that goes into this ceremony. How many of you in here know somebody who is a veteran? How many of you in here have ever sat and talked to a veteran? It is the stories that a veteran shares that makes this day special. It is the stories that they tell you. It doesn't matter if that veteran is 25 years old or 95 years old. That veteran has stories to tell. And it is those stories and their sacrifices that make this day special. My brother's very best friend was a Marine, and he was deployed 3 times in Iraq. And when he came back, the stories that he told us, from snipers shooting at their Humvee to his best friend one of his very good friends getting killed in a roadside bomb, those are the stories that make you appreciate what this day is really about. It's not about getting a day off of school. It's not about having a day off of work. It's about honoring those who are sacrificing everything so that you have the right to go to school, so you have the right to vote, you have the right to do everything that you want to do. It's the sacrifice that they make, and I believe Sheriff Fyock had said it's a very selfless sacrifice, and that is true. They don't do it for their benefit. They do it for the benefit of everyone else and for future generations. And if you see any veterans, if you see anybody, please thank them for their service, because without them, our lives would look completely different. So again, thank you to all of our veterans here today, and thank you to all of the veterans that you know. Please go home and thank them on behalf of Penns Manor School District. And thank you, everybody. Okay. At this time, I will have our 12th grade students. You may report to your 8th period class. Yep. 11th grade, you can go ahead to 8th period. 10th grade. And 9th grade.